God'll get you for that one.
Maude is owned by Shout Factory.
God'll Get You for That, Walter is produced for entertainment purposes only.
Sponsored in part by Findley's Friendly Appliances. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of God'll Get You for That, Walter.
He will.
He will. Not in this episode.
But not in
though.
this episode.
Not in this episode, though.
But
as I adjust the frickin' microphone.
That's going to be lovely. Well, so I do apologize if the sound goes up,
haywire,
down, and whatever. But it's fine now. Now it's good.
And we're okay.
And we're well.
My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by...
Are you sure?
Not in the slightest.
Are you absolutely positive?
Nope.
Okay.
Can't say that I am.
All right. And who am I?
You're Toni Homeperm.
Are you sure?
Nope.
Neither am I. But we'll run with that for now.
And welcome to God'll Get You for That, Walter, a podcast where we discuss the 1970s hit sitcom Maude. This is episode 39 for God'll Get You for That, Walter, and we're discussing season 2, episode 15, The Lovebirds.
Originally aired January 1st,
1974.
1974.
And it's one of my favorite episodes.
This was a very good episode.
It was directed by Hal Cooper.
As usual.
And written by Dick Wesson.
Mm-hmm.
Wessonality.
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 Always makes me think of Florence Henderson.
The episode begins.
We're in the living room.
And Florida is polishing
the silver tray.
A silver tray.
Mm-hmm.
And she's singing lovely to look at, delightful to hold, and heaven to kiss. And she's kissing herself in the reflection.
Yes.
And as Florida is preening like a peacock, Maude storms downstairs, carrying all of these aerosol cans. And she's had it with modern science.
Yes.
And Florida's like, what happened? Mm-hmm. And Maude goes, I just sprayed my hair with Lemon Pledge.
Lemon Pledge. Funny enough,
go ahead.
There are some drag queens who use Lemon Pledge on their wigs to, detangle them.
Does it work?
Supposedly. I mean, my husband doesn't do that. But there are queens who use Lemon Pledge on their wigs.
He should do his own YouTube show where he's like, here's how queens are supposed to style their wigs. Here's what to do and here's what not to do.
Yes, but that's a thing.
Yes.
There are drag queens that use Lemon Pledge on their
wigs. Aren't there
wigs.
some drag queens that use Pam?
I've never heard of Pam. I would think Pam is too greasy.
Greasy?
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Pam would be too greasy, but Lemon Pledge...
I mean, look, if we're spraying our wigs with Got to Be Glued, there's a lot of things a queen will use on their hair.
Well, but Got to Be Glued is meant to go on hair.
True. Pam is meant to go on eggs and
pans. Yes. It's meant to bake your scones.
Oh my goodness, we don't even have waters for ourselves, so we're flying dry on this one,
we're
kids.
We're dry tonight.
So
we're doing this without lubrication.
So we will both be sounding like B. Arthur by the end of this episode. Good Lord, I have such a terrific head start. So moving right along, there's laughter from the audience, aerosol cans, and Florida goes, at least you won't have to dust your head.
Yes. You won't have to dust her hair.
And Maude says, come on, Florida, my hair smells like a knotty pine bedpost. Mm-hmm. When was the last time you heard knotty pine?
Knotty pine? Not too long ago, I don't think. I don't know why, but not too long ago.
The last time I remember hearing it was on American Horror Story, and the line was said by Jessica Lange. I think it was it was in Coven. And, when a witch dies, I think they are showing that version of that specific witch's hell when she passes. And she's in this sort of dingy, dusty-looking bed and breakfast. And she's looking around, and she just is grimaced by what she is seeing. And I remember her explicitly saying, "What is this? Knotty pine!"
Knotty Pine.
And it tickled me. It absolutely tickled me.
That would be a good drag queen name.
Knotty Pine. I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a drag queen that exists called Knotty Pine.
And maybe spell it naughty. Naughty Pine.
Naughty Pine. Well, there's one born every minute, kids.
There is.
So,
now there's mention about, the tray not being dull, that they have, I guess they're happy that the tray is not dull.
Yes, they are happy that the tray is not dull because Vivian and Arthur are coming over tonight.
And that will bring the dullness.
That will bring the dullness because a night with Vivian and Arthur is dull.
Dull, yes, because
it's been alluded that Vivian and Arthur are constantly hugging on each other and kissing and schmoozing and all this stuff.
That lovey-dovey, kissy, smushy stage.
Yeah.
When you're in it, it's wonderful, but everyone else around you suffers.
Everyone else around you suffers.
Yes.
It's true. It's 100% true.
Yes.
So
this is an apropos episode because we are coming up on Valentine's Day.
Are we, Val?
Yes.
I'd rather not think about Valentine's Day.
I know. Well, that's why we're doing an anti-Valentine's. We're doing an anti-Valentine's Day show.
We do anti-Valentine's Day show. I'm so sorry, not shoot. Just the cosplayer. I hate you. I hate you so much. I hate you so much. So dinner with Vivian and Arthur is boring. It's dull. It's lifeless.
Yeah.
And then Maude says
something about throwing a bucket of water on them.
Exactly. If they come in spouting poetry and this and that and loving up on each other, I'm going to throw a bucket of water on them.
Yeah, like what you would do to like a pair of dogs.
Dogs in heat. Spray them with the hose.
Yes.
Spray them with the hose.
And at that point, I believe Walter came in, and he was very pleased with himself because he says he didn't forget.
He didn't forget.
What
Memory of an elephant. Memory of an elephant. And Maude goes,
forget.
honey, you remembered Philadelphia cream cheese.
And no.
He said, no, I remembered Boston cream pie.
Boston cream pie. I think I'd rather have the Boston cream pie.
All things considered, yes.
Wouldn't you?
Also, then Maude's next line is, don't worry, honey, I'll throw a little horseradish in the Boston cream pie. It'll make a fabulous dip for the Fritos.
She's going to put radish on top of it. Not horseradish. I think she said she was going to put
radish on it?
Radish on top of it, yeah.
I could have sworn she said horseradish.
No, I believe it was if she was going to put a radish on top of it. Because the cream cheese was supposed to be the dip for the Fritos.
Yes.
So the radish would have been like the garnish. That was very big.
Okay.
In the 70s when you're having your dinner parties, you would make a little radish rose and stick it on top of the dip.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Yes.
Horrendously 70s.
Oh, so 70s. So 70s.
So Walter goes on this little tirade where he's like, at least I remembered something like some state on the eastern seaboard that had cream in the middle of it.
And Boston and Philadelphia, they're not that
far apart.
And I think Maude was like...
Maude goes into the kitchen and saying, thank heavens he didn't bring home the London flu.
London flu, yes.
So she goes into the kitchen to take care of to put the Boston cream pie in the fridge.
And Florida is asking if she can
leave early to go and see the Harlem Globetrotters. Sweet Georgia Brown.
That was their song. That was their song. And Maude is like, oh, I didn't know you liked basketball. No, she wasn't not talking about the Harlem Globetrotters. She wasn't talking about basketball
team. Do you remember,
team.
I think it was during the 90s when the Harlem Globetrotters were really, really, really coming back into vogue. Because there were a lot more advertisements for them where they would have it would almost, the Harlem Globetrotters are sort of like what we would imagine the Long Island Ducks wish they would be.
Right. Okay.
It's just, that's what they wish they would be.
Yes.
Haven't seen much from the Harlem Globetrotters in recent memory.
Yeah, no. I'm sure they're still around.
Probably.
Probably. But I'm sure, it's all different, members and whatnot. But I remember, even in the 70s, they were big. They even had, cartoon versions of them, I think, on, Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
And, a few things like that. But they were, very, very big. Back then.
Yes, they were. Yeah. And they were on the What's New Scooby-Doo.
What else?
Where Are You, Scooby-Doo? What was the... I'm trying to remember because it was right after the success of Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. When it was Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? That's what it was. Scooby-Doo,
Well, that's the songs. That's the song.
No, but it was specifically called Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?
Was it?
I think so.
I thought it was just Scooby-Doo.
We'll have to look.
We'll have to research.
But I remember
the song is Scooby-Doo. Where are you?
Yes. But they had celebrities like the Harlem Globetrotters,
Sonny and Cher,
Mama Cass,
yes.
Phyllis Diller.
Yes.
I'm trying to think of what Batman and Robin.
Yes, Batman and Robin.
I'm trying to think of who else. Liberace, I think, was even a guest star.
I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Weird.
Such a shame they didn't have Maude on there.
Yes.
I would have loved for there to have been Scooby-Doo meets Maude.
We should actually do something like, you know, just rip some stuff and have you as Maude like interacting with the mystery bunch.
That would be hysterical.
You know,
that would be absolutely hysterical.
Or maybe Dorothy and Sophia.
Oh God! Ideas, all the ideas everywhere.
That's copyrighted, by the way. Don't even think about doing it.
No,
My lawyers will be on any of you listening before you can bat an eye.
And he means that. No, there was actually there was someone illustrated a series of pictures saying Scooby-Doo meets the Golden Girls.
Oh, they did,
and they never did it. It never happened.
Right.
But it was still one of those things where I'm like, could be fun.
Yeah,
could be into it. Really, 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 just wow, excellent, outstanding.
Oh my Lord.
So
the Harlem Globetrotters, Florida is going to see.
Yes.
Wants to see. Are not the basketball players. It's
they're her aunt and uncle.
Her aunt and uncle, who are they're from Harlem, and they trot the globe.
Yes, they came. They're home from a trip around the world.
Trip around the world. Yes.
And Maude says the Harlem Globetrotters.
The Harlem Globetrotters.
So we get back to the fact that Vivian and Arthur are coming over tonight, and you know, I have written down the two of them are about as scintillating as a commercial for Preparation H.
Yes, and Walter he tells Maude that they are her Frankenstein because she created
That's your
them.
Frankenstein. You created the monster.
She created the couple, the Arthur and Vivian.
If it wasn't
creature.
for you, they wouldn't have gotten together.
That's right.
And Maude's like, but Vivian is my dearest friend, and she finally has a man. That's a very big deal.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Is having a man a big deal?
Oh my goodness, yes.
To whom?
Well, it depends on the size of the man. Am I wrong?
No. Doesn't mean you should say it.
Am I wrong, Pussycat?
No, you are not wrong, Ma. Oh my God.
Yeah, but you know that goes back to that old thinking that you
have to have a man.
There was a man. One has to have a man to complete themselves.
There was a song that Ginger Rogers performed years ago, like I think it was in the 50s. And the song I think was called "It's So Nice to Have a Man Around the House." Mm-hmm. And I remember listening to it and I'm like, this is absurd. Mm. This is just not a fun song. Yeah. What is this song? Yeah. What even is this song? I think I remember a house is not a home without a man. Mm-hmm. He's the necessary evil in your plan. And I remember hearing that. I'm just like, this is a very sexist song.
Oh God, yeah.
Because it's like, it's that idea that you need a man in order to be a complete woman.
Yes. So it's Maude's fault, really, that they're together. But Maude is happy because Vivian is happy.
Yep, and that's all that Maude cares about is Vivian, her friend's happiness. Which, to Maude, considering that she has not exactly been the nicest friend to Vivian.
No.
Because if everyone had a friend like Maude, a lot of people would be friendless.
Yeah. She ain't never had a friend like Maude.
Never had a friend like
Never had a friend.
Nope.
Not like Maude. So the doorbell rings.
And Maude goes
and they, Walter was assuming they're going to be like all lovey-dovey, kissy-kissy, smushy-smushy at the door. And Maude, of course, opens the door and... there was a discussion about... If they're all like,
if they're all lovey-dovey on each other, what are they using to ring the doorbell?
Yeah, what body part are they using to ring the doorbell?
What body part are they using to ring the doorbell?
And when she opens the door,
they're arguing.
They're fighting.
Like a real human couple.
Yes.
Which, again, I understand that the 70s had a very romantic attachment to spousal abuse and domestic disputes. But at the same time, it really makes me uncomfortable when they discuss arguing as what makes a couple a couple. I mean, nowadays having arguments is good. It's healthy for a couple to not be on the ball with everything. But at the same time, there's also a lot of toxicity in that. There's a lot of toxicity in the fact that if you argue, that means you're a healthy couple. It shouldn't be that way. You can have disagreements.
Yes.
You can have disputes. But arguing from Maude's perspective is like the honeymooners.
Yeah.
Like, to the moon, Alice.
Yes.
Just, having those sort of really, really, really big domestic blowout fights.
Right.
And that's just really cringy.
Somewhat.
I'm not on board with that.
Yeah. Well,
with
that's
that
this
stuff.
is
But
a
I mean,
lot of
this would be considered a sign of the times.
Exactly.
Like, during the 70s, it was commonplace for there to be, big blowout fights between couples. And it meant that, you were arguing. That means that you were passionate. That means that you loved each other.
I was going to say passion. It was supposed to be like that. Oh, well, it's sort of like an indicator of how passionate the relationship is.
Yes.
Yes. And, swollen gland?
Yes.
Really?
I'm feeling myself.
Oh,
no, I'm not. No, it's not a swollen gland.
Lord.
It's not a swollen gland.
Oh, my Lord.
None of that. None of that talk. Woo. We're supposed to make this a fun show about Maude and spousal abuse.
Well, swollen glands can be fun.
Stop it!
In the right context.
I'm going to hit you with the book.
Don't hit me with the book.
Throw the book at you. I'm going to throw the book
own that
at you.
book.
Yes, you do.
You
You own the book. You own the pen. I'll throw my phone at you.
That's the only thing in here you own.
Do you not? Hey, I own all of this. I'm looking, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking to my right, and the Tomcat DIY kit.
Tomcat DIY kit,
as ever, is still growing.
And
There's a
she is.
Cher wig. There's a Streisand wig.
People who need people.
I was watching Funny Girl earlier this morning.
Oh, were you?
I was. It's honestly one of my favorite Barbra Streisand flicks, next to What's Up, Doc, as we've discussed on previous episodes.
Lord.
So Vivian and Arthur are entering and they're arguing.
They're arguing at all the while. Maude wants to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And
what's going on?
Arthur is what was it exactly? I'm trying to read my notes.
Basically, Arthur was saying how Vivian is really feeling uncomfortable, and Vivian's like, because he's a creep. Vivian feels that Arthur is a creep.
That suddenly he's a creep.
Suddenly he's a creep.
Suddenly he's a creep. Suddenly he's a creep.
And, Arthur's like, Vivian, if you engage with me on repartee, and you will be cut to pieces. And Vivian comes back at him saying, Arthur, I gave away a bird that could ad-lib better than you.
Yes.
So he turns to Vivian and goes, oh, yeah? Do you remember when kids used to do that years ago? Yes. Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we know where they got it from. They got it from Maude.
Yes. And then what happens is Arthur brings up Agnes.
Yep.
For the first time.
Agnes is mentioned a number of times.
Many times.
In this episode.
Many times.
So Vivian is really upset because, Agnes is mentioned. And, Maude says, Vivian, there's something that I have to get into the kitchen. And she goes, well, what are you going to get in the kitchen for? She goes, you. You gotta get her in the kitchen. So she takes Vivian into the kitchen and, they start addressing the issue with, like, what gives.
Yes.
And Vivian's like, it's that wife of his, Agnes. Yes. Agnes this, Agnes that.
And Vivian says to Maude, what am I going to do? He's constantly bringing up Agnes, and apparently,
8 years.
Yes,
she's been gone. Agnes has been dead for 8 years.
But according to Vivian, according to Arthur, Agnes was perfect
in every way. Except for her health.
Yes, except for
her health.
Yes, she's so Agnes sort of reminds me of myself, perfectly perfect in every way.
And dead. Don't forget dead. Why does she keep forgetting dead? So, it's Maude and Vivian are having a quaint conversation about...
And Vivian's saying that Arthur is being very insensitive. She even went out, she got him a tie for him to wear tonight. Yeah. And Maude is like,
it's an excellent taste, delightful.
Yes.
And then Vivian says, it's the tie Agnes got for him. And it's atrocious, Maude says.
It's atrocious.
It's atrocious.
Yes. Oh. So Maude tells Vivian that she needs to show Arthur that she's cheerful and smiling.
And cute and perky.
Now
cut out the cute and perky. We'll stick with cheerful and smiling.
Smiling, yes. So this is all going back to, the woman has to have a man, and she's supposed to acquiesce. And this was a little bit unlike Maude.
Very unlike. I mean, there were times when I'm sure the writers were like, we'll let Maude be, a little bit more not so feminist.
Because this was very unfeministic of Maude to be like this.
One of the things that I had noticed over the course of watching Maude was that the writers would write Maude to sort of suit the narrative of whatever the episode entailed.
Exactly.
And sometimes that reality was, Maude doing something that was a little un-Maude-like.
Yes.
For the sake of the episode and for the sake of continuity.
Yeah, yeah. But in hindsight, I think I know why she's acting this way because of what happens, what is going to come up.
Yes.
So I'll share that thought when we get to it.
Okay.
So, meanwhile, back at the ranch, or at least back out in the Findley's dining room,
Walter and Arthur are
discussing the situation.
Yes, Arthur is a little crestfallen. He's like, what do I do? I can't handle this. Like, I can't be in a relationship anymore. Like, and Walter's like, come on, you just need to be your old witty debonair self to win her over.
Yeah. So where Maude was telling Vivian she needed to be cute and perky and cheerful and smiling.
Yeah.
Walter is now telling Arthur he needs to be debonair and charming.
Yeah.
So it's at that point, I believe, that Maude and Vivian exit from the kitchen.
And they have the duck.
And Vivian is holding the duck. And I actually stopped. We paused the episode. I paused
the episode because why, Mom? Why did they do that?
Vivian brought... Now, it's a dinner for 4 people.
Yes, it is a dinner for 4 people.
Vivian brings out this little teeny tiny duck that's the size of a capon.
Yep.
And I was
the
like...
size of a Cornish
hen. And I was like, how in the heck are 4 people supposed to make dinner out of that? Not to mention, Maude was supposed to be serving Fritos and cream cheese as an appetizer, and they just completely skipped over the appetizer.
I mean, for the sake of continuity, for the sake of the episode, I'm sure they couldn't do all of that. So.
I know. And I'm sure as far as handling props, it was probably easier for them to just
to go right to dinner.
Just to have Rue McClanahan come out with a small bird on a plate.
But also, I mean, not for nothing, it could be surmised, it could be alluded that the Boston cream pie would be brought out for dessert.
Well, yeah, definitely.
And not as an appetizer.
Well, yeah, it would have to be. You wouldn't have Boston cream pie for an appetizer.
I would.
My goodness.
But that's also because I have no self-control and I love to eat sweets.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, I was like, the dinner would be a fail in my book.
For you, it would be a fail. For me, it would be Tuesday night.
And there you go. So, Arthur takes over. Since he's a surgeon, he is going to carve the duck.
So pretentious.
And he's making some, rather dad jokes about it.
That bird is a dead duck.
It's a dead duck. Its goose is cooked. And,
Vivian is very taken aback, and she's like, "Oh, Arthur, you're so witty, you're so debonair."
Yes,
and Arthur puts his foot in it by saying, "Oh, it's a routine I used to do for Agnes."
For Agnes.
Oh, Agnes.
Oh,
I've actually done this. I actually did this with my second ex, where Vivian's like, "Oh, a routine you used to do for Agnes." And Maude goes, "Cheerful, Vivian, cheerful." And
yes.
she takes her index and she takes her middle and index finger and pushes it under her cheekbones to smile. And I've actually done that. I've actually done that just to be like, "Come on now, we're gonna smile now."
That does not surprise me.
Leave me alone, thank you.
Hey, you agreed to do this show.
That's very
true. Of your own free will.
Of my own volition.
Enter freely and of your own will.
Thank you so much. This is the last episode, by the way.
Welcome to the very last
episode.
Welcome to the
last episode.
God will get you for that, Walter.
So, Maude is trying to, smooth everything out. And
Vivian is like, Agnes!
She can't hear you, Vivian.
She's had it up to here with Agnes.
And she even says, it's a wonder you didn't have her stuffed and mounted over your mantle.
That's right.
And
That's
Arthur
right.
says, Vivian, that's against the law. So not out of the realm of possibility for old boy.
No, it's just that he couldn't do it only because it was against the law.
So we find out that Vivian was cremated and
her ashes were scattered over Mamaroneck.
Not Vivian.
Oh, Agnes's ashes were scattered over
Mamaroneck.
Yes.
Over Mamaroneck.
Have you ever been to Mamaroneck?
No.
Yeah, that's
Can't
where,
say that I've had.
that's where Archie Comics is located.
Really?
Yes.
I do love. Is it Dan Parent who used to illustrate? No.
Yes, he was one of them.
I think it was Dan Parent who illustrated for Archie.
Mm-hmm. I tried to be an artist at Archie Comics.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I never knew that.
Well, now you know. Now you know.
And knowing's half the battle.
Yes.
G.I. Joe.
Yes. But yeah, I just wasn't good enough.
Aww,
but
that's why you became a drag queen.
That's why I became a drag queen. Exactly.
Can't paint a picture, but can paint a face.
Paint a face like nobody's business.
So at that point, it becomes a battle of the couples. Because Arthur feels that Maude is right, because Maude is like, it's not a big deal to mention Agnes, but Walter sides with Vivian because Walter moved into Albert's house.
Yes, and he can sympathize because apparently when, he was first with Maude was
mentioning Albert a lot.
Mentioning Albert all the time, which brings me back to that kitchen scene when Maude and Vivian were in the kitchen, and Maude was seeming very unfeministic, but the thing is, Maude was doing the same thing to Walter that Arthur is now doing to Vivian about bringing up the ex. So it leads me to believe that's why...
I have a good question for you.
Yes.
At what point in the relationship following do you stop talking about your ex?
3 hours. Unless you can hook up on Grindr sooner.
Wow. I forget. What's your sign?
Sagittarius.
That's why.
Love him and leave him. Pussycat.
See, I'm more of an emotional creature. I feel like. So, when it comes to the ending of a relationship and then you get into a new one, it really does depend on the partner that you're with. Because in my opinion, talking about it sometimes helps move the grieving process along. Because, there are some people that will grieve an ex for 2 hours, and then there will be people that will grieve an ex for years.
Yeah.
Depending on how significant the relationship was to that specific person.
True.
And, it is very apparent that, Arthur was with Agnes, and it's pretty clear that Agnes was Arthur's first and, to my knowledge, only love.
Yeah. Well, he mentions that later.
Yes.
Yeah.
It becomes very clear that Agnes was the first and only love of Arthur.
Of Arthur's
so,
life. Yeah.
I mean, I do understand why he is talking about her so much. Because, Agnes may have been gone for 8 years, but we don't know how long they were married for.
True.
So
also, the thing is, Agnes died. It wasn't like they broke up.
No, it's very true. And grieving...
There's a big difference.
Yes.
There's a big difference.
Grieving over someone who has died is much more different than grieving over someone that has broken up.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it shifts from person to person. Yeah. But for me personally, after my second ex and I split up, because I have 3.
Only 3?
Only 3.
Amateur.
Please let me get to your age and then we'll talk about how many exes I have. If you're still alive by that point.
I'm not going anywhere. Hate to tell you.
For me, it took me about a year to finally stop, grieving over my
Oof.
It took me a year before I saw somebody else after my second ex.
Oh my God.
It did. It took me about a year. Because, I love very passionately. I love very heavily. And, I'm not you.
So do I, but I'm like, but I don't know. This is me.
Yeah.
When I'm done with somebody.
You're done with them.
Done.
I'm not.
And that's it, you know.
And this is where we differ.
Yes.
This is definitely one of the things where we differ.
It's true. But I'm like, I mean, once you cut that cord and that's it. Goodbye.
I wish I had that discipline. But I mean, you know, it takes a special person to be able to do that. And I commend you. I commend you for your turnaround time.
You know. Well, I wasn't always this way.
Really?
I wasn't always this way.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
But you get burned enough times and you sort of develop a thicker skin.
True.
And, you know, it's like, and I'm very much that way now. Not only would I be that way in romantic relationships, if that were the case.
You're also that way in business relationships.
But, yeah, as far as, like, professionally, like, if, you know, there's something I don't like, there, you cut, and
honestly,
that's it. I'm done with you.
You know, it's the damnedest thing. When it comes to business relationships, I'm a lot like that.
Good.
When it comes to business relationships, if you burn me once, that's the end.
That's it. Yeah. No.
But for some inexplicable reason, when it comes to love, I just can't let go. I can't. It's very difficult.
It's harder.
It's very difficult.
Harder.
It's very difficult for me because again, I am such a passionate, loving person, and not like you, who hates everybody. And
I hate everyone passionately.
All the bridges I burn will light my way in darkness.
That's right.
But yeah, so it's interesting that we sort of have this conversation because this is honestly a very modern conversation. It can even I feel like if this episode aired today, it would be met with positivity. It would be met with a positive reaction. Okay. Because it's a conversation that comes up a lot today in when it comes to relationships. Like, at what point do you stop talking about your last marriage or your last relationship? At what point do you say, all right, enough is enough. Let's talk to a therapist, talk to somebody to get over what it is that you're feeling.
Right. Because
again, we also have to take into consideration Arthur is very conservative, and Arthur is a doctor. He does not. And this is something that came up in a number of sitcoms where a physical doctor will not listen to the ideals of a psychiatrist or a psychologist or even a therapist.
Really?
Do you remember the episode of The Golden Girls, Sick and Tired? It was the episode where Maude, where Dorothy had chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yes.
And there was that one doctor who says, what the hell does a psychologist know? Psychiatry, what the hell does a psychiatrist know? No. Psychiatry isn't a science.
Yes.
And that's how some doctors felt during the 70s, where it was like, if you can't prove it under a microscope, I don't want to hear it.
True. Very true.
So, for those going through grief, there is counseling available. There is therapy available to you. We are advocators. We are advocates. Advocators. That's not a word. We are advocates for therapy and bettering one's mental health.
At least you didn't say preform. One of my pet peeves. Have you ever seen? I see it all the time on Facebook. People, they use the word
perform
instead of perform. PERFORM. They write preform. PREFORM. That is not a word. It does not exist in the dictionary.
Irregardless is not a word, children. Irregardless is not in the English language.
Not a word. That's, as someone who is like a spelling bee champion, it irks me when I see words that are not really words.
It was, as someone who suffered severe emotional trauma about my spelling abilities, I too understand that plight.
Yes, but we do not preform. We perform.
We perform.
And joining us now, Eartha Kitt.
Bring our boys back from war. It's an unwinnable war.
Shall I get you a saucer of milk?
One of my favorite actresses to impersonate is Eartha Kitt.
Well, Catt, Eartha Kitt,
Catwoman. Let me tell you something. When I changed my name to Tomcat, I'm like, okay, so we're just gonna fall into the fold. Catwoman outfits, Black Cat, Eartha Kitt, things that are very, very feline.
Yes.
Like my eyes are very cat. Like I will always do a cat eye. Just became part of the moniker.
So apropos.
So became part of the moniker.
Oh, so Walter can sympathize with Vivian.
Yes.
Because Maude
mentioned Albert.
Used to do that all the time. Bring up Albert.
Yeah.
Vivian is and Arthur's saying that he doesn't mention it all the time Vivian gets fed up.
She's fed up because, again, Arthur mentions
He says,
there's someone that would not appreciate this argument, and that's my Agnes.
Yes.
So Vivian says, that's it. I've had it. I have had it. She runs to go get her cloak. Did you notice her outfit?
She was like a green riding hood.
But do you remember the episode that just aired where we were going over the husband and wife of the year? Mm-hmm. Maude held up that outfit.
Oh, did she?
It was the green velvet dress with the powder blue undershirt.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, recycling clothes. Oh, we never brought up too. Maude's hair was longer in this episode than it was in the previous episode, the office party.
Yeah.
So just a little, continuity flub, I guess. Obviously, the office party was filmed after this episode, but it aired prior to it.
For as many hairdos as B had as Maude, they varied. Mm-hmm. Like, it didn't, it wasn't to the extent that with Golden Girls, she started with one hairdo, and then, by the end of the second season, it was another hairdo.
Right.
By the end of the fourth season, it was another hairdo, then the fifth, sixth, seventh. With Maude, it was pretty stationary. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes the curls would be a sweep over to one side. Mm-hmm. Her hair would be a little bit longer, but it was always that very short, fluffy look.
Yeah. Well, this was that little bit of a longer shag.
Yes.
Hairdo that she had in this episode, and
if we can call it that, it wasn't a long shag because
no, not long, but long-ish
for
her.
Yes, long for her.
Longer than the hairdo she had in the office party, and I actually preferred her hair
in the office party. Yep,
but,
same.
I just felt we had to point that out.
Potpourri, friends, it's potpourri.
So Vivian she's leaving. She's had it with widowers.
And she will never date a widower again unless his wife is still alive.
Unless she's still alive.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
So Arthur goes on a rant, and he's like, well, that's it. I'm leaving. This night has turned into a fiasco. There's a bitter woman and a fat duck.
Yes.
Like, we're mentioning the duck again.
And the duck was not fat.
The duck was not fat.
The duck was
a chicken.
Not even a chicken.
The duck was a chicken.
It was not even a chicken. It was barely out of the egg. It's so small.
Arthur leaves, and we cut to commercial.
When we come back,
Maude and Walter are sitting at the
table. Yes.
And she says, well, Arthur and Vivian may never see each other again. The night is ruined.
They probably won't speak.
And she turns to Walter and goes, see what you did?
And Walter's saying that, what's going on with them is perfectly natural. He felt the same about their house. When he first moved in.
Yep. And he's like, Walter is trying not to have an argument.
Right, yes.
But of course, Maude being Maude, can't avoid that.
No.
So, we find out...
She grabs the duck.
Oh, she grabs the duck?
And stormed into the kitchen, remember?
You hate the duck, we'll get rid of the duck.
Yes, and then Walter's like, well, that's the only thing that wasn't Albert's. So he wants the duck.
This house may have been Albert's, but that duck was mine.
That's right. And
so Maude says, a crisis on our hands, and all you can think about is your duck.
And Walter...
We find out that Walter has lived in that house for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
5 years we found out that Walter lived in that house.
Yes.
So, Walter is trying to, calm everything down, smooth everything out. You have nothing to worry about. I've gotten over those feelings.
Right.
I do not think about Albert anymore.
Right.
And Maude's like, if that were true, I'd be the happiest wife in the world. Mm-hmm. And Walter goes, well, then you're the happiest wife in the world, Albert. And, at that point, Maude storms off into... Where does Maude storm off to? No.
Oh, that's when she grabs the duck.
No.
Is it?
She grabbed the duck. No. She threw it in the sink. But then I think
there was a lot of back and forth.
And
arguing about Albert and, Albert's table and,
Albert's guest room.
Furniture.
It is not any of those. It is Albert's bedroom.
Yes, that's what he's most bothered about.
Most bothered by Albert's bedroom.
He's jealous of Albert's bedroom, and she says that he's so jealous that his
mustache is turning out. He's so green, your mustache is turning into AstroTurf.
Yes. Do you remember AstroTurf?
Yes. Vaguely. It was very popular in the 60s.
And 70s.
And 70s.
Yes. And that's when they start, they're like, but darling, but
can I say,
sweetie,
I loved that
honey
exchange.
bunch.
I loved that exchange so much.
That was a great exchange.
Because Walter's like, I thought you wouldn't feel this way. Like, I wanted us to discover our house together, darling.
Darling.
I wanted us to be able to, pick out paints and pick out patterns and whatnot.
Sweetie.
And Maude's like, well, why didn't you tell me about this, sweetheart? Like, I would have understood this, darling.
Darling.
And, Walter comes back a little bit more aggressively. Oh, you should have known how I was feeling about it, honey bunch.
Yes.
And Maude screams, how, precious? Was it written in a fortune cookie I missed? Truly, the funniest line to me in that episode.
Yes. Oh, lordy lord.
So, at that point, Maude says, you didn't trust me. You didn't trust me to make any of the decisions for the two of us.
And Walter says that he accepted it, and Maude says it's like, accepting a two-story goiter.
Like a man with a goiter.
Yes.
You live with a man for 5 years, suddenly he hates your house.
Yes. And that's about when he kicks Albert's table.
Yep. And she was like, oh, honey, are you okay? He goes, no, I hurt myself. And she goes, good, that was Chester's table. And so Maude, she's yelling she's going to Albert's den. Yep, to the den, Albert's den.
Yes. And I believe that's when Arthur came back in.
Yep, Arthur enters, just not knocking.
No, never.
Just waltzes in.
Waltzes right in.
And he has a bandage around his hand.
Yes, his hand is bandaged.
Why does he have a hand around his Why does he have a bandage around his hand?
Because he hurt his hand.
Yes.
Yes.
But how did he hurt his hand?
Well, we find that out. He
asks for Epsom salts.
He wants Epsom salts.
And it's funny because
they go into the kitchen.
Walter and Arthur go into the kitchen, and Walter's like, Arthur, me and Maude are having an argument that makes yours look like a pajama party.
Mm-hmm. And Arthur's telling him that Vivian is upset. She
had to take tranquilizers.
And he ended up punching the door.
Yep. Which again, very, very violent.
Yes. Which we do not.
We do not condone. We do not condone that.
Not condone the violence. But Arthur wants some Epsom salt so he can soak his hand. And that's about when Maude came in looking for something. Turns out
she was looking for Albert's hammer.
She's looking for Albert's hammer. She's got to she's really got to turn the screw on Walter.
And Walter's like, what do you need? What do you need his hammer for? And she goes, the justice of the peace that married us.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And Walter is telling Arthur that he shouldn't get married again, and I believe Arthur was saying that he's never going to get married again. He doesn't plan on it.
He said if I don't get this hand, if I don't get the swelling down in my hand, I'll lose 2 appendectomies and a gallbladder.
Mm-hmm. That's when we hear a banging out in the dining room.
No more marriage for Arthur Q. Harmon.
Arthur Q. Harmon, yes.
What is a quince?
A quince, it's a fruit.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Yes. So that's Arthur's mother apparently liked.
Mother loved tropical fruits.
Tropical fruits.
Loved tropical fruits.
And she named him, gave him a middle name of
Arthur Quince Harmon.
Quince Harmon. Q for
Quince. Or Quincy. I think Quincy Harmon. Arthur Quincy Harmon.
Oh, is it?
I think Arthur Quince, or just
Quincy
whatever.
Or Quince?
It's Quince.
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 We'll stick with Quince.
We'll just stick with Quince.
And we start hearing a banging coming out from the dining room.
Yeah.
And Walter goes into the dining room. We see Maude is hammering the back of a sign.
Yep. And Walter takes the hammer away and says, be careful before you hurt yourself. Which, again, Maude allowing that to happen, I wouldn't have allowed that to happen.
Right.
So Walter's banging it, and she goes, Walter's like, what are you doing with this hammer? And she goes, can't you tell I'm building a stairway to the stars?
Yes. And then she, I don't know who picked up and showed the sign.
Maude picked up
It's a for sale sign for the house.
Yep. It's for sale by owner, Fizbo's.
Yes, Fizbo's, because she is a realtor.
Yep.
She says,
realtor. You hate this house, we will sell this house.
Right.
And Walter's like, you want to sell this house? Okay, then sell the house. I'll even drive the stake in myself.
Yes.
And Maude does something so cartoony.
Yes.
The first time I saw it, I just about wet myself. She's like, you want to drive the stake in? Okay, Walter. And she raises her arms like Lily Munster.
Yes.
Drive the stake through my heart.
Yes.
And the two of us will live in Transylvania. And we'll be Count Dracula.
Yes.
And she takes the sign and races out the door. And Walter exclaims, I'm married to a 5'10" fruitcake.
Fruitcake. Yes.
It was so random.
That was
so random.
Yeah, crazy. Do you like fruitcake?
Depends on how it's made.
Same.
And depends on what I have to drink with it, because I have had some dry fruitcake.
I do not like dry fruitcake.
Neither do I.
I would not eat it, Sam. No. I am.
But, I mean, it also depends on how much alcohol is used to make the fruitcake.
Okay. I don't have to have fruitcake with alcohol, but I do like fruitcake that is more moist than like those dry fruitcakes with like those little hard pieces of citron. Those I don't like. But now the fruitcake that is more like moisty,
it's kind of
molassesy.
Yes.
It has like the pineapple, the maraschino cherries, that kind of thing, the dates and nuts and stuff like that.
Yep.
That fruitcake. That we approve of. That's the royal we.
That's the royal we.
Just so you know. We approve.
The royal we.
We approve of this
cheesecake. Are we a partner?
We approve of this cheesecake.
That's
about when Maude's trying to head out and Vivian comes in.
Yes. And Vivian's like, oh, Maude, I miss Arthur so much. And she goes, Vivian.
Go home.
Go home. I love you. Go home.
Go home. Arthur sees Vivian. He's coming out of the kitchen. And Vivian or did Vivian go into the kitchen?
So Arthur goes into the kitchen and then sees he says Vivian, and then Vivian turns to Arthur and goes, Arthur, come back here. Yeah. And she races to the kitchen past Walter.
Yes.
And Vivian turns to Arthur and she goes, Arthur, I have something and she stops herself.
Yes.
And she says, what happened to my baby's hand?
Yeah. All of a sudden now she's the
domestic goddess.
And the mothering.
Yep. Let me kiss your hand and make it better. And then of course as soon as she kisses it, like Arthur's like, oh, I do feel better, and then she throws his hand down on the table.
Yes. Yeah, because
because he's soaking his hand in Epsom salts to reduce the swelling.
And she says we should stop seeing each other.
Yeah.
And it was so fast paced. Now I lost my train of thought of how we get to Arthur's proposal, which was a non-proposal.
So, can't even bury Agnes. I have written down because Vivian's like, you can't even bury Agnes.
Yes.
And he's like, Vivian, she can be buried. I don't have. It's ashes.
Yeah, she's been cremated.
And I think Arthur's apologetic, sort of, and he says, you have to believe me that my feelings for Agnes are I love her, I miss her, but I have she is no longer here. She's no longer with me.
And he did something about she was his only love.
Yep.
And he probably brings her up so much because of the way he feels about Vivian.
Correct. That's what he says.
Yes. Not in those exact words, but I think that was the intent.
Vivian makes Arthur feel like Agnes is still with him because that's the amount of love that Arthur has for Vivian.
Yes.
It's very similar to the love he had for Agnes.
Yes.
But of course, Arthur, being someone who is not in touch with his emotions, doesn't know how to process them accordingly.
Right.
So he says the wrong thing.
Yes.
So Vivian says, Arthur, if I could believe that, I'd marry you in a minute. And Arthur goes, believe it, Vivian, believe it. And Vivian's like, Arthur Harmon, do you mean it? Mm-hmm. So that's sort of where,
Vivian takes that as
Arthur's proposing.
Is proposing.
Yeah. And then Vivian races out the door to Maude, and she goes, Maude, Arthur and I are getting married. Arthur proposed.
Yes.
And Maude is like, oh my God, honey, that's fabulous. Yes. And, Arthur comes out and he's just like all shaken and completely and totally bewildered.
He's like, married? We're getting married. We're getting married.
And then Walter's like, I hear congratulations, Your Daughter. I didn't know you had it in you to propose. And Arthur's like, I didn't know I had it in me either.
Exactly. And then he tells Vivian that they're going to be moving into his house. Yes, because it's
right.
Bigger.
It's bigger. It's rent controlled, and Arthur's
I don't think my house wouldn't be rent controlled.
Not rent controlled. I'm okay. I'm all right, friends.
But it's bigger. I guess he just feels that it's more logical for them to move there, especially since they're best friends.
Are right next door.
Walter are right next door, and
which
certainly makes it easier for them to come in during any
scene. Here's my question: if Arthur and Vivian live next door, where does Vivian live that Arthur was able to go to her house? Unless he banged... No, he said, I punched your door right in the knocker when he told Vivian about his hand.
Right.
So how close did Vivian live, if that was the case?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because clearly she was within walking distance.
Had to be close.
So at that point, Arthur says to Vivian, there's something that I want to show you. It's very special.
Yes.
You are going to love Agnes's sewing room. And the sewing machine is very important because he oils it once a year on their anniversary.
And you know what I thought when I heard that?
What did you thought when you heard that?
That would be like the perfect thing for a guy you were dating to tell you. I have to show you Roger's sewing room, and you would be like, oh my God.
Go to hell, Ma. No, look, if someone is going to show me a sewing room, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to be bringing all of my fabric, all of my sewing machines that I oil every 3 months.
Oh.
So they exit. And, it finally dawns on Maude and Walter. Maude says, oh my God, honey, did I ever do that to you?
Mm-hmm.
And, Walter's like, no, you were never that bad.
Yeah, and besides, Albert didn't have a sewing machine.
But then they have this really sweet moment between the two of them.
Walter brings up about, it's not a house that makes a home.
It's a home because we're in it together.
They're in it together.
And then they say, we fought in that room. We fought upstairs. We fought in the basement.
We threw a suitcase out the window.
Out the window.
Maude says that Walter, he flushed her eyelashes down the john.
That is call for divorce.
That is criminal.
You will never throw my lashes down the john.
Oh, I'm very careful with my lashes. I take them off, and they go back in their little case.
Yep, same here.
Especially my eyelashes are not cheap.
No, they are not. They are not cheap.
You still have the pair I gave you.
I think they're in there.
They're in the DIY
They're
Tom
in the
kit.
DIY kit. They're in the Tom Kit DIY.
You had never worn lashes that
I
big.
have never worn lashes that long before. Ever.
Felt like you were staring through bars, right?
It felt like I was able to fan somebody with them. They were so long.
They were big.
Those are
drag lashes.
Those are drag lashes.
Those are drag lashes.
I mean, when I wear lashes, I wear very demure lashes. I like looking like that I have lashes on, but at the same time, I don't go crazy.
You wear a very wearable lash.
I do. I wear a very womanly lash.
I say, when I in my makeup videos, sometimes I'm remarking how you could do I did this kind of look, but you could use the palette and do a very wearable look, and I'll go on about if I was a career girl, and I could just do it, throw this color in the crease and a little shimmer on the lid, a little mascara, and then go into the office and hope that cute new manager might ask me out for a drink.
You said that. You said that.
If I were single.
If you were single.
If I were a single career girl.
I'm not a single career girl. I'm a lady of the evening.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, I wear very vampy colors. It's not every... Look, when I started doing drag, that was the only lip shade I wore. I only exclusively wore red.
So did I.
I only wore red, because that is the only color that I think looks good on me.
And now I very rarely wear red.
You wear nudes. You wear nudes.
I like berry colors.
Purples. I've seen you wear purples.
Yes.
But you also do very light in the center of the lip.
I love to do that little ombre for a pout, which I did on you.
Yes, you did.
When I did your lips.
You did.
And you looked great. You looked fabulous.
Hey, I looked very fetching when I did my makeup that way.
Yes.
I looked very fetching.
You did.
So,
Maude remarks that their love is everywhere.
Our love is everywhere.
Their love is like savoir-faire. It's everywhere.
Yes. Yep.
So then we have the epilogue.
We have the epilogue, and Maude is
on the phone.
She's in a very cute little she's in a blue turtleneck and a very cute button down that has like a very ornate pattern on it. It was very cute.
Yes.
So she's talking to Vivian, and she goes, "No, honey, I've never heard that before. That's something new and exciting." All right, well, call me with any updates.
Right.
She hangs up the phone and she turns to Walter and says, "Walter, your friend's at it again.
Arthur's done it again. He's postponing the wedding
because he did a blood test on Vivian,
right.
which he charged her $10
yes,
for.
Not only did he do the blood test himself, he charged her $10 for it.
And we find out that Vivian has low blood sugar, and that he won't be able to marry her until her blood sugar's at a marriageable level.
Yes, and then at an acceptable marriageable level. Very Arthur.
And that he charged her for the $10. That's just, no. That's tacky. That's so tacky.
Très tacky.
And on that note, friends, we thank you for listening to another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter. If you would like,
this was like a breakneck episode.
But it was, to me, the first time I watched this episode, I was howling with laughter.
I think I need one of Vivian's tranquilizers.
A little of that goes a long way.
I'm sure it does.
But if you would like to listen to us, if you'd like to follow us and listen to us, you can where all podcasts are found. You can follow us on Facebook and YouTube at God Will Get You for That, Walter. You can follow us on Instagram at Findley's Friendly Appliances. If you would like to follow me, you can at That Tomcat, where all Tomcats are found. Everywhere. Just literally type in That Tomcat. You'll find me, I promise. And where could they find you?
Toni Homeperm, and that's Toni with an I, and
Toni
that is
with an I.
ToniHomeperm.com, and also Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and
where all Toni Homeperms are
YouTube.
Found.
Let me not forget my
Don't
YouTube
forget
channel.
YouTube. Do not forget YouTube.
Yes.
You're doing very successful.
And good news, our YouTube channel, God Will Get You for That, Walter, has gone over 100 subscribers.
Yay! That's right. And over 500 downloads on Buzzsprout.
That's right. We're doing well.
We are doing well. You like us. You really like
us.
Share us everywhere, please.
Please.
We want people to hear us and hear the stories that we have to tell.
Yes, because everyone that actually knows us in life is sick of hearing them.
Correct. We thank you so much for listening, and we'll... Every time. Every bloody time. Every single time, Tomcat.
They won't see us.
They will not see us. You will hear us on another episode of God Will Get You for That, Walter. Bye, guys.
Good night.